Kelly, go potty. Come on, Cal. Cal.
We're all set.
Right, are we, what's our time here? Just a minute ahead. So. John usually comes in close to the time. All right, I've got 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order, and John comes in right now. In order to have a quorum, we'll seat Will, and if John comes in, we'll add him to the seated members. Any comments from anybody that's joining the meeting that has nothing to do with the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Any issues for agenda review?
No, none here.
Okay. So then we'll move on to number 4 is the public hearing, PZC number 20-23, special permit location 15 Hinsdale Avenue, applicant Winchester Public School, owner Town of Winchester, proposal Hinsdale School renovation and new construction, including restoration and daylighting of the Gilbert Home Brook that flows in a culvert under a portion of the school. Can you read the legal ad? Yeah.
Yep, and just for the record, John is here. If you want to,
good.
John Cooney.
John, good evening. We'll seat you as well. So we've got Will seated and John. So, okay. Great.
Okay, the legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, August 24th, 2020 via the online platform Zoom for the following applications: PZC 2023 special permit, applicant Winchester Public School, owner Town of Winchester, 15 Hinsdale Avenue, map 106, block 041, lot 012, proposal Hinsdale School renovation and new construction, including restoration and daylighting of the Gilbert Home Brook that flows in a culvert under a portion of the school. Meetings are live streamed on YouTube at the following, and it indicates the YouTube address. Parties interested in participating during the meeting should email pcolumbia@townofwinchester.org ahead of the meeting. Questions and/or comments may be emailed to that address. At this hearing, interested persons may appear and be heard, and written communications will be received. Copies of the above application are filed for public inspection at the Planning and Community Development Office dated at Winchester, Connecticut, this 14th day of July, 2020. George Clausen, Chairman. It was published August 10th and August 17th. The certificate of mailings to the abutting property owners have been received. And this application is currently before the Inland Wetlands Commission. They did go before the Architecture Review Committee on Thursday, August 20th. The minutes have been posted and provided to the commissioners. You now have staff comments from all 4 individuals that you typically seek them from, including the Director of Public Works, Jim Rollins, Police Chief Bill Fitzgerald, Building Official Zoning Enforcement Officer Mark Melanson, and Fire Marshal Steve Williams. They've been provided to the applicant's engineer as well.
I didn't see the comments from the chief, but
There were the original plans, and then there were also an updated set of drawings, and he's reviewed both of them. I believe that the other staff had looked at their comments incorporated both sets of plans into them. Everything is uploaded to the Town of Winchester website as well under the Planning and Zoning Commission page, meeting documents, a tab over to the left.
Okay. And there's an application before the zoning board or the ZBA
Yes, yes.
for signage.
Mhm.
Okay, the monument sign. All right. Could the applicant, who's representing the applicant? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, I'll start. For the record, I'm Donald Smith Jr. I'm a professional engineer with an office at 56 Greenwood Circle in Seymour, and representing the applicant, Winchester Public Schools and the town of Winchester. Superintendent Brady Shanley is present with us tonight, as is Paul Jorgensen, the project architect. And Steve Wing, our landscape architect, will be joining us shortly. I think he was having a few difficulties getting on, but he should be shortly.
Okay. And is this Mark Douglas joining?
Mark? They just asked about you. Here. They asked about you.
Oh.
Is Mark Douglas joining?
Yeah.
He just said that.
Okay, if you stand by, we'll
Yeah,
start
bring
the
him.
presentation, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Donald, why don't you proceed with the overview of the project, and we'll go from there.
All right, if I can share my screen, I have a colored plan. And I can start with an overview of the project, and then we can get into as much detail as you would like. I have the plan set also on my desktop, so let me start with a colored plan and give you an overall view, and then we can zero in from there with any of your questions. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right. So just a little bit smaller. So we have the bigger picture, and then I will zoom in. Okay, so I think you're all familiar with the Hinsdale School. We appeared before your commission back on August 12th of last year for the 8-24 referral of this matter before it went to referendum. We have had a few changes since then, but I want to say nothing too significant. The overall layout, okay, Hinsdale School, or I mean Hinsdale Street, yeah, sorry. Hinsdale Ave is down at the bottom of our page, or bottom of my page. Spencer Street is along the bottom lower left corner as well. Williams Avenue is all the way to the right side of my page. And this parcel actually extends another 200 feet to the north from where this page currently stops. It's basically the ball field and more of the wetland area, but there is no activity proposed up there. And I can show you that when we get into the plan set if you'd like, but the existing conditions plan do map out the entire parcel. Okay, so starting down here in the lower left corner, the project includes the demolition of approximately 11,000 square feet of the existing school building that is down in this lower left corner. Basically, it's the two-story portion of the original construction dating back to 1950. As well as the kitchen area and cafeteria and kitchen and the support for that kitchen area. And go hang that phone up, please. Oh, just hit the volume down button. Sorry about that, of course. The water course or the Gilbert Home Brook right now is in this blue shaded area. Right now, that portion of the brook is in a box culvert that is part of the foundation of the school. And that culvert is, operational. Water's currently flowing through that culvert, and that's one of the reasons we have proposed to demolish this end of the school, is to stop the moisture issues associated with that. The moving further to the east, the main entrance will stay. This is well, let's say the back of the school, but this is the main entrance. This will be the bus drop-off area. When I zoom in a little bit more, you can see, but we have 7 full-size buses that can stack up basically along this front driveway area, as well as the driveway coming in from Spencer Street. Up in this area here, okay, this currently is the existing paved play area. So the paved play area has been removed and is being replaced with parking area. As part of future plans of the district, they have plans for a maintenance building and let's say carport. We've included that square footage as part of our coverage amounts, but the actual construction of that building and carport is not part of our plan. Okay. The existing playscape that's in this, let's say, center area is being removed and converted to parking. And this is as it was shown previously last year when we went to referendum. The existing parking lot all the way to the east, that is an existing parking lot, and that's basically going to be remain. It will be repaved. It will also be set up and have the infrastructure for a future EV charging station or electric vehicle charging station as part of the school requirements. So there's 2 spaces here that would be dedicated to an EV charging station. We are also proposing 2 handicap parking spaces right in this area as well. A little bit further to the north, there will be a new playscape. This will be for the older children, I believe 5 to 12. This is playscape number 2, and it will replace the existing swing set and other play apparatus that are currently in this area. But this is approximately a 7,000 square foot play area with a rubberized play surface. Closer to the building, this is approximately a 4,000 square foot play area. And this is for the pre-K and K programs. This will be surrounded by a fence on 3 sides, obviously with a gate, but surrounded on 3 sides for security of that age group. This lighter tan is the existing building, the 1989 edition that is being renovated and will remain. And then at this end of the building, currently there's a paved parking area, and that parking area is going to be removed, and a 7,900 square foot building addition will be placed in this area. Okay.
1 or 2 stories?
1 story. The proposed site, as you see it right now, has approximately 1,000 square feet less of impervious surface. So our lot coverage is slightly less than what it was before we started. And depending on the definition of lot coverage, I believe that we comply with the zoning regulations for lot coverage. And that was one of the comments that your zoning enforcement officer had today. So I can go through that when we go to those questions. All of the pavement, as you see it here, that's on site will be removed and replaced. Where the existing school building is being removed, we are also adding an additional 10-car parking area over on that side. So that Our total parking count. I'm sorry. Total number of parking spaces that we have on site is 51 regular spaces. Let me zoom in there. 51 regular spaces and 3 handicap spaces. Where did you do that? Okay. Keep zooming into this and then compliance table. So the requirement is 1 space for 2 classrooms for total parking. That would only equate to approximately 13 parking spaces per your regulations. But working with superintendent and the building program, feel that 51 regular parking spaces and 3 handicap parking spaces is more in line with the the actual use of the building and the number of parking spaces that would be needed. Okay, our building coverage, let me just go in a little bit more since we're here. Okay, so our building coverage is 25% is allowed. Our proposed as the part of this site plan is 18.1%. Our building height is certainly less than 35 feet. The impervious surface coverage, we're allowed 40%. Based on the net parcel area, which basically deducts wetlands, it's 46% coverage. But based on the gross parcel area, it's only 39.4%, which is in compliance. I believe that the calculation is correct on the gross parcel area because it does not specifically state to use the net area when computing the impervious surface coverage. So we would have to look at that regulation or that definition to verify that. But I believe that we're either less than what's required, or because our impervious surface area is less than we started with, we are less non-conforming than we were before. Okay.
Can you just describe the flow of traffic? I see the bus definition, but I see must be personal vehicles coming in, it looks like from Williams. Can you just walk us through the flow of traffic at a normal day?
Yep. Traffic flow will be basically as it was before. It's a one-way driveway coming in from Spencer Street, okay? And that would basically be limited to buses. The buses during pickup and drop-off area times, the buses would come in from Spencer Street and queue up in front of the main entrance and up the driveway. Again, there's 7 full-size buses shown there on site. We have enough for another full-size bus and approximately 4 minis waiting out on Spencer Street in the event all of those buses are there at the same time. As far as parents, okay, we have parents would enter from Williams Avenue for their drop-off. They would come in, circle up and through this new parking area, and then queue up along the sidewalk here. So we have 5 vehicles that we've shown just along the curb. You could probably get more. And we have 23 stacked vehicles from Williams Avenue down to this point. So basically you've got on-site control of 28 vehicles. But those children would discharge onto this sidewalk, and they would either enter through this door, which is currently existing, and that sidewalk, which is currently existing, or they would go over to the main entrance and come in through that door. I believe that parents wishing to park and walk their children into the school, okay, they would be parking in this lot over here, and then coming in and either bringing the children to this door and dropping them off there if they're in the pre-K or K program, or they would take them all the way over to the main entrance. for the other grades.
Donald, what are those 10 spots off of Spencer for? Staff?
They are additional spaces. Yes, they would probably be used by staff, either teaching or maintenance staff. But they're additional spaces.
Okay. Then my next question, while we're here, is where's that third handicap?
Okay,
Over here?
over in this little corner over here, okay?
Yeah,
We have the third handicap space, which would be actually be the van space. Next to it, we have the accessible passenger loading zone space.
right.
For those that might be coming in via that. Let me just blow this up a little bit more here because that gets into some more detail over here. So further down in that corner, okay, we have a dumpster enclosure with 2 dumpsters in it. And then we have a concrete generator pad that's approximately 8 feet by 20 feet for the generator that will be going there. All right, we've added this little curved section here is a proposed screen wall. The architects will explain that a little bit more for you, but for the view from Spencer Street looking onto the school, we really didn't like seeing a standard dumpster enclosure and big generator being visible. So we've added in a screen wall to buffer that and soften that view at the top of the bank. There's also going to be 2 benches over in this area, providing an overlook down to the daylighted brook area. And then the overlook plaza, the existing stairway coming in, those will remain. And there will be an overlook plaza as part of the original building that stays, but that overlook plaza would then provide entrance to the corridor, entrance to the doors and the end of that corridor, but it will also provide an overview of the daylighted stream below. The
Where do
brown areas are landscaped areas. And
where do they come into school from that separate handicap?
You would, anybody that's parked in this handicap space here would come up and come into the front door over here. The
So
main
that's all going to
office
be,
and the traffic flow is going to be directed more towards this area. This door here will still be an entrance for those people that might be walking and coming up Hinsdale or Spencer. They would be able to enter the building here. But from this particular handicap parking space or accessible loading space, they would be coming in and coming into the building right here. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, from all the handicap spots, you're about 60 feet they have to go to get into the school.
Okay, actually, I think it's more than that, but,
Yeah, I
whether
know,
those
it's-
handicaps, again, we were to maintain, but if we were to put that handicap space and accessible space here, okay,
Right.
basically the same distance to cross the road and then come over and enter here, okay, and then they are involved with crossing the driveway. The 2 other handicap spaces that are further over to the east, okay, these 2 parking spaces are kind of, 2 functions. One, they would provide handicap parking to those coming off hours that might be using the playscape in the field. But these 2 handicap spaces would also be available for staff that would then be entering through this door. So, we did have 3 spaces, so we wanted to divide them up a little bit. Thought we were, doing the best, without trying to recreate the whole wheel here and not having, you know, everybody cross the driveway.
Well, the issue is what arrangements are going to be made for an individual that can't go that distance? Is there going to be assistance provided by the school? I need that the handicapped person calls up the office and says, I'm coming into the parking lot. I need someone to assist me into the building.
Hi,
How are you
Mr.
going to
Bell.
arrange that?
This is Melanie Shanley, Superintendent. Yeah, certainly, you know, anytime anybody needs assistance into our school buildings, we're always there to be able to help. You know, one thing that we've really paid close attention to in this particular design is around school security. So right now, a lot of our school buildings do not have video cameraed entrances except for their hard entrances at the front of the buildings. This facility here will have
Right.
video cameraed entrances in multiple spots, therefore allowing if, you know, someone does need to use a side door to be able to enter the school buildings, you know, other than the hard entrance, main entrance, it'll allow for that. So certainly that's a situation with this individual that is handicapped to be able to offer that assistance to them.
How many of your staff do you have that need the handicap spot? Because I've seen up at the old school at Bachelor, people that parked there weren't handicapped, no sticker, but they were parking in the handicapped spots for people.
Right
How
now,
many of
we
your
only-
staff are going to do that?
right now, we only have one legitimate staff member that does have a parking sticker. And that's one of the things that I worked really hard with them last year on making sure that they are not in those spots, nor any delivery trucks, because we had that issue too, in those spots for any period
Yeah.
of time unless they have the proper tickets.
Okay, so we're going to put out in the new school thing a bulletin to all the staff that if you need assistance, please call the office ahead of time prior to a meeting with the teacher or whoever so that we can assist you into the building.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, I'll be looking for it.
Not a problem.
Okay,
Just to clarify, okay, the distance from this handicap space here up
Yeah.
the sidewalk and over to the front door is 120 feet. Okay, not 60. And
No,
it's the
well, I said
same,
they're over 60
120
feet, yeah.
feet. Okay, it's 120 feet from this area right here to cross the road on the walk and come in. Either way, either route, both this route or this route would be necessary, but the route complies with the accessibility standards.
right.
So it has the proper cross slope, it has the proper maximum pitch so that, you know, per those standards, so that it is accessible. That's part of the accessible route. That's, you know, it's designed that way to meet the accessibility standards.
No, I understand that. My concern is that in the past, an individual that was volunteering used to park over in that side of the building, but then never could get in the side door, part of the building that's being torn down. And for her to walk, it was a big issue. She had double sticks and to walk with, and it was just too far for her to get there. That's my concern is that if you have a parent that needs assistance to come in, that yes, they can call the office and someone will come out there to assist them. That's my concern.
Okay,
Okay, well, Art, the superintendent has said that that would be part of the standard operating procedure, so it just will have to be part of the process of getting this place occupied.
Right. No problem.
Just another question, because it was asked of me before. Over toward Williams, there's a residence that has a driveway that actually comes out on that right away. I don't know what the legal thing is. Mark, you're on board here. I'll bring in public comment afterwards, but while we've got this slide, I'd like to see how that, if you have any comments, I mean, this is a little out of order, but do you have any comments in regards to that access point?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm just curious, we've kind of always had that issue, even before with parents and the parking, when they're picking up the kids, they're all lining up there. It looks like you got more parking where they may not be lined up. So I really haven't had an issue, because most of the time when school's being done, my wife and I have been working, so we haven't seen that as much.
Okay, I just wanted to, because I know you'd raised that
Yeah.
concern while we had this slide up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, how's the parking? So like, say we come home while they're doing they won't block the driveway, correct?
The only time the driveway would be blocked is, I would say, either morning or afternoon pickup, okay? When
Okay.
you have, 25 cars or thereabouts
Yeah.
stacked up.
Okay,
The simple consideration, and it was overlooked, but we would certainly put a sign here that says, "Do not block driveway."
yeah,
That'd be-
that's fine. I only had that trouble a couple of times, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up just in case.
Yeah, and I think we
We
can.
have, if there are other issues, Mark, later on, I just want to go through it in an orderly fashion.
Yep.
And just while we had this
Okay.
slide, I wanted to bring that up.
I
Mr.
appreciate
Clausen, can
that.
I add to that?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Dawn, if you go back over to the Hinsdale entrance where the little H is. Mr. Douglas, one of the things
Yeah.
that we're going to work on doing is, you see that we have up to 28 car capacity on the side that your house sits.
Oh,
We will
yeah.
also be splitting pickup with the Hinsdale Avenue side, so parents
Oh, okay,
would be able to, so it would be 50% capacity on each side of the building is the goal. So there definitely should be, less than 28 cars. And certainly my hope is they don't reach your driveway at all at any point.
yeah. I
my
appreciate
goal.
that. Like I said, we never had an issue, and I just want to just point like that out as just, as concerned. But I'm glad this project is going on, and I think it's going to be a great asset for all of us around here.
Thank you.
Okay, so Don, why don't you move on with the rest of your description on this slide?
Okay, this touches a little bit on wetlands issues, but let me at least explain. I think we're all aware, okay, so there's the existing stone box culvert from original construction. There's about a 30-foot long section of that right up in this area where my cursor is, okay? And then it goes into a manhole, and then that is changed to a 60-inch concrete pipe that, again, is still under the school and discharges here. So we're not touching that 60-inch pipe, but this original section of the box culvert, okay, dating back to pre-1950, it's seen better days. So we are replacing this 30 feet of the original stone box culvert with a new precast concrete 3-sided culvert. So it'll still maintain the natural bottom as it does now. We've provided a little bit more capacity in that box culvert than currently exists, but we'll be replacing that with a new box culvert. While I'm in this area, let me blow it up a little bit more. Okay. So this point right here, okay, that's our existing property line to our neighbor, comes down to here and goes this way. So currently, our survey is showing that some of the driveway actually encroaches on Mr. Pettit's property, okay, this right here. So we'll be, as part of the reconstruction, we'll make sure that that driveway is off of his property. But in order to do the work we need to do with this box culvert, we will need an easement from Mr. Pettit to be able to accomplish that work. Basically a temporary easement to accomplish that work. And the way it's currently aligned, the corner of that box culvert clips the corner of his property. So we'd have a permanent easement for the box culvert on his property. So that's something we still need to work on with Mr. Pettit on that. So we're providing that new box culvert there, okay? And then down at the front portion of the building, okay, this is the existing foundation wall of the building. So this portion of that wall will be staying, and we'll be cutting that wall off at elevation 760, okay? So by cutting that off at elevation 760, that then becomes an overflow weir. And in the 100-year storm event, this brook, what cannot go through the 60-inch culvert, then overflows over this section of that foundation wall and spreads out into the parking lot, and then goes down to Spencer Street. So prior to this project, okay, the 100-year flood event would have put the floor elevation of the school approximately 2 feet underwater. The way we've reconfigured, the 100-year flood elevation is approximately 11 inches below the finished floor elevation of the school. So that we have taken out of the equation, we've taken the, and that's what this line designates. This is the 100-year flood line. And that's approximately 11 inches below the floor elevation of the school. Okay, so the parking lot, the driveway gets flooded. There's some accumulated water in the driveway, but we are not up to the floor elevation in the school. And there's a generator here is high and dry as well and is not encumbered by the 100-year flood elevation. So I think that's another big component of this project is eliminating the flooding hazards or flooding potential of the school.
Don, what kind of restrictions are you placing in that water flow? It looks looks like some screen wall or something that will require maintenance, I presume.
The screen wall, basically this is at the top of a bank, okay?
That's
This,
the above, okay. Do you have any restrictions in that water line that flows through there?
we do have a landscape plan. There will be some landscape plantings in there. The majority of the area will be grass, but there will be some landscape plantings in there as well.
Oh, what I'm asking about, do you have anything to restrict the flow of water because of the change of the size of the pipes and so forth that would create a dam?
I know
No, okay.
there will be a 4-foot high chain link fence
Mhm.
from basically from the screen wall all the way around the site, across this front and up and around here, so that the attractive nuisance is fenced off to keep wandering children out of there. But we do have a gate in order to get in there and provide maintenance as needed.
Mhm. Okay.
George,
Yes, go ahead.
will this height of 760 feet, per Public Works Director's comment, is that low enough to resolve an existing flooding condition of the basement at 27 Hinsdale Avenue, the house directly next to the school?
The house over here,
Yes.
yeah, this is 27 over here. Yes, that will reduce the flooding situation over in this area. Under the current conditions, okay, this all has to fill up and basically come out this corner over here. So that this front corner of the school is certainly, that's what leads to the flooding in this back area. Just give me 1 second. Let me just check an elevation.
So Melanie, there's what, three ways to get into the building that you've got to take care of security for,
Yeah, there's 3 primary ways. The first, obviously, is the main atrium entrance in the center of the building. I think the second most used will probably be that sidewalk entrance over towards Mark Douglas's house, where the new building proposal addition. And then probably the least used but most visible will be where the H is
Hinsdale.
Hinsdale. Mhm.
on the sidewalk near that overlook plaza. I think that will probably be my teacher's Dunkin' Donuts entrance in and out of the building across the street, probably most frequently used. But yeah, the primary secure entrance will obviously be that front atrium entrance. And there's been a lot of attention put to, double entry doors in there, security, a partial view window between the 2 sets of doors. So you do 2 secondary buzzes before you actually let somebody physically in the building. So that would be the primary for visitors. But certainly students coming in and out of the playground area will use that entrance over by the new addition most frequently.
Melanie,
Yes.
it's Art. Those 10 spots, are you going to put a walkway for the staff to come in through the Hinsdale driveway or walkway, I mean, versus having to go all the way around the whole building?
You know what? That's a really good question. I don't see that in the drawing. I don't know the answer to that.
I know.
Honestly.
That's what I was thinking of before. It might be a minor change, but then again, I don't think it is. It's I mean, not a major change, but a minor change for them to come from that parking lot, being it's going to be staffed.
Yeah.
So they can come into the Hinsdale door.
That can be something I can talk to Don Smith about. I don't know what the logistics, what the slope are in that area, if it's feasible in that area, but we can certainly bring that up.
That existing flagpole is going to remain. That's right here.
Right.
There is a little bit of a slope to deal
But
with.
that wouldn't be that bad.
I'm not
I
sure.
mean, it
that
kind of
we-
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can come from here. It might need a couple of steps if we were come to here and do the shortest route. Or if we did something a little bit longer, we may be able to cut that down. But we can certainly look at providing a connection between this end of the parking lot and the sidewalk.
Yeah, because they're going from that parking lot, what, 275 feet to get into the school?
It could be
Handicap's
that
120.
if they were going all the way to here, it would be a good exercise for them. Yep.
Just food for thought. I think it'd be simpler to put a couple steps or whatever.
Good point, Art. While we're, again, I don't want to sidetrack, you're looking up elevations, Don, that you were about what Peter brought up about the flooding potential for 27 Hinsdale.
Yep.
Did you work out how that confirm what you were talking about?
So, this little wetland area, the flooding that's behind the school here, okay, or on 27 Hinsdale and the adjoining property. There's a small wetland area and there's a catch basin here that comes across and ties into the Gilbert Home Brook above the box culvert.
Mhm.
So while we have lowered the flood elevation from what it was previously, because this is still tying in up in here, okay, The 100-year flood elevation is, let's say, 762. Okay, the new flood elevation here is going to be 762. The ground back here is approximately 760, whereas up front here it's 763. So the lower portion, the back portion of this property is still going to flood. It certainly will not be as much as it was previously, because previously it was going to be up above the 763 and flowing out through this portion over here. So it's better than it was, but it is not completely eliminated from this property.
But you're not gonna contribute to it with the new building where the parking lot is. Is that you're controlling that water?
The existing parking lot that was over in this area, okay, is larger than the proposed addition. The catch basin, the existing catch basin from that parking lot is going to remain. Okay, so all of our roof drains will tie right into that same catch basin, but there's less impervious tying into it. That catch basin runs this way, picks up this catch basin and goes into here. So reduction in impervious going to this catch basin, yes, that's a help. You know, total site, we've reduced by 1,000 square feet of impervious, but by installing this overflow weir, okay, that has lowered flood elevations on the whole site.
With regards to that, these catch basins and where it's going under the existing building now, do you, in your operations manual for this being constructed, is that verifying the integrity of those pipes and that they're completely cleaned and that there's a maintenance program with regards to them?
We did not do any camera work to verify that pipe. This catch basin had been holding some water, and we asked the Public Works to go up and do some investigation, and they snaked up from this catch basin. They snaked up and they were able to clear that blockage so that then flowed freely. You know, this is the survey shows that this is a concrete pipe, a reinforced concrete pipe. So no, we have not done any camera work.
Just a suggestion, because I've seen other things on the maps that I've worked on projects, and they tell you certain things, and unless it's verified, you could get yourself into a corner, and then
Isn't that pipe, it runs close to the electrical room that used to be there? Is that electrical room still staying in the old building? You know, where you, somewhere in there was an electrical room. I think it's more towards the corner.
Someplace.
Come down a little bit. I think it's right in that area, and that used to get a lot of flooding from the overflow concerning the pipe and I'm talking years ago when I went over with Greg.
Right.
When he was doing the maintenance.
Part of that issue is, you know, part of the issue for your previous flooding was the unit ventilators. The air intake for the unit ventilators are all at your floor elevation. And while some of these unit ventilators have plywood covers on them, I could see that it looks like they all had them at one point in time, or at least had them for facilities so that they could add them on. But if those covers were not added when this flooded per se, then that was the reason for you coming right into the floor. Mechanically, all of those unit ventilators are now gone, and the walls are now sealed up tightly. So the only place that you'd be able to get flow coming in would be through the doors themselves. The existing boiler room, the original boiler room over in this area, that's down as low as that is being removed and filled in. So we will not have that subgrade boiler room that's subject to flooding when that brook comes up and taking out the boilers. Paul Jorgensen can speak to the mechanical systems if you'd like.
Well, my only thought was, is as George brought up, is if we could get a camera down through under the school to check the integrity of that pipe.
So anything is possible. Yes, that can be
I
done.
mean, what it would take a 1 day for a couple of guys to run the camera down through there?
Yeah,
Ensure that-
even less than that.
Yeah.
I don't know if the sewer department would be able to do that. When I spoke to Jim about Public Works, he said they didn't have a camera, but water and sewer did. I didn't ask water and sewer because this is a storm sewer, not sanitary, but either way, I'm sure we can find a contractor to do that, sure.
I mean, we're doing all these millions of dollars of renovation, and then it's done, and then all of a sudden we find out that pipe has got no good integrity.
I can reach out tomorrow to our town manager and see if we can handle getting that done in-house through one of the town
Yeah.
departments to be able to save some money.
Well, just if we're going into an existing piping anywhere on the site, we should just verify that they're good and as drawn somewhere, because sometimes the as-built in this community, we're learning, are not up to speed. So just to take care of it. The other thing,
I'll talk to Bob Geiger tomorrow and see if we can put that in as a check.
Thank you, Melanie.
Before you move on, this drawing was not generated from as-built. Okay, so this was from our field survey.
Okay.
And the surveyors, opened this catch basin, took the elevation of both of the pipes, got the general direction. That comes into a manhole that's over here. When they open that manhole, they, basically see that same pipe coming from that direction. We verified the elevations so that we know that it was flowing downhill and not put backwards, but the actual inside of that pipe, that would have to be a camera work. So we will look into that.
And along what Pete Marchand brought up on with regards to drainage, Jim Rollins had a comment about the 30-inch RCP just north of the Gilbert Home Brook inlet structure.
Yep.
Sometimes obstructed by debris and getting caught in the inlet protective structure, and that contributes to flooding. So that's what I was.
I remember 6 years ago when we got the volunteers and we went over there and cleaned that whole area out along with the old parking lot. They didn't even know there were storm drains there because it was so overgrown.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is Mr. Pettit going to allow us, besides the easement, to manage shrub overgrowth and stuff like that?
Well, he would allow us to do whatever we put in the easement, but just kind of zooming in here.
Yeah.
The water course itself and the training walls, that's all on our property.
Okay.
But
I know some of his shrubs were overgrown into it over the fences, and I mean, it was just, they had taken the fence down, the trees had gotten so bad.
And that's, unfortunate, the trees still do keep growing. And
yeah.
Yes, it is something that needs to be maintained. There's currently a deadfall tree someplace across the brook, and it's still sitting there. It came across the brook, was sticking out past the fence. Somebody came and trimmed it up as it was sticking over the fence, but the piece that's really across the brook is still there. So, this is on, town property. So it's something that will need to be, maintained and needs to be kept an eye on in advance of large storms. If there's large storms predicted, as we had the recent tropical storm,
Recently.
worth to go out and put eyes on it and make sure it is open and clean so that in the, the storm event that you're clear, so that's kind of preventive maintenance, yes.
That's, we're at a better part of our history here in town with maintenance and when you get people on site, I know what's been going on with our schools. Melanie's team has done a tremendous job of making these places the places you'd like to go and spend some time on. While we're on this slide, are you satisfied with the comments, Peter, about what you raised?
Yes, I'm fine.
Now, Don, tell me how we're going to do. Sometimes we get snow in the winter. How's the snow removal going to be handled? Do we have? Is it all going to be plowed into the grass areas, or how do you envision this thing being managed?
I would think they would plow it, the same as they do now. But I would think that this lot would go, either pushed to the west and put all over here, or it'd be pushed to the east and piled up in here. They'll have to pick some spaces to use for snow storage. And if it's a heavy storm, then yes, this area can be pushed basically right onto the grass, can be pushed further, pushed onto the grass. This section all through here, there's somewhat of a bank that goes up before you get to the grass. So I'm not sure you're going to be able to push up onto the grass, but you could end up with a windrow, all the way across this parking lot where they just plow it straight in like that. So, I'm not the snow plowing expert, but I'd leave that to your DPW to figure out the most efficient way of doing it.
Yeah, some of these sites we see developed, and I know when I've built some of these things, not school projects, but sometimes they overlook the
Snow
containment
removal.
area that where you're going to go with the snow and your sidewalk clearing and all that business. So it's just something to be thinking about. Okay.
Mr. Clausen, one of the things that we do try to do in particular on this site is, I would say probably along the back perimeter of that parking lot, is to stack the snow there. We get a lot of individuals with four-wheelers and four-wheel drive trucks that like to do donuts in the wintertime in the middle of that field and tear it up.
Oh.
So we do try to block that field off as much as possible with as much hard packed snow as we possibly can.
Okay.
So I imagine that they will probably continue the process of pushing it back along that parking line.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Your utilities and everything else, is anything changing with bringing anything in with regards to serving the site? Is it all there and you're just going to be upgrading everything?
One new thing that we did bring in was the generator. I know that there's been a lot of conversation in town recently, especially with this past storm, about not having a generated area for individuals. So this building would have a full-blown generator to be able to possibly be used in case of an emergency.
Excellent.
The sanitary sewer, okay, basically the sanitary sewer comes down from the site, comes down from the Brookside area, I believe it's called. Comes right down through here. This is an existing sanitary manhole where the addition area is picked up into this sanitary manhole. But there's this sanitary line also runs under the school and comes out here. So the sanitary, there will be no changes to the sanitary. We will be adding a grease trap, external grease trap for the kitchen that'll be out in this parking lot too, going into that catch basin. But the sanitary, no changes to that. The building will be served by natural gas. The existing gas service comes in through the front of the building here. The existing transformer may be upsized, but the existing transformer will remain in its current location. The domestic water supply currently is over here, and it is undersized based on current code. So we will be putting in a new water service, tapping out in the street, and a new water service coming in there. And we'll be relocating the sprinkler service on site. Currently, the sprinkler service comes across and goes under the office area. We're going to be bringing that over to the a new sprinkler room that's next to the, I think it's the bathroom from the old nurse's office. So there'll be a sprinkler room here that's above floor elevation. Currently, the sprinkler system is down below the floor. So.
Was it a 4-inch line, the old one?
The sprinkler?
The old one is a 4-inch.
No, the sprinkler service is either a 6 or an 8. The domestic water currently is a 2-inch, and it needs to be at least a minimum of 3. So we'll be putting in a 4-inch water service, and then they neck it down when it comes into the building.
Right.
But the current domestic is only a 2-inch.
Oh,
Okay.
The monument sign, okay, and I'll show you, go to another plan, but we are currently before planning in ZBA for some variances to the monument sign. We're proposing a monument sign right here next to the front stairwell. All right. The variances we are seeking on that are total area of a monument sign, as well as height. And let me just go to that right now. So just so you know what ZBA is working on and where the signage is, okay? But so, okay, so basically the edge of the building, okay, I'm not sure you can see it, but let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so the edge of the building is the left of these 2 double lines. You can see the building comes over and comes down.
Don, the screen did not share.
Not
Right.
sure. Huh? How about now?
nope.
I'm gonna stop and try and start again. How's that? That'll do it. What now?
I can see it.
Okay,
Not,
yes?
yeah,
Yes, we see it.
So the edge of the building comes over and then comes down. Okay, so
Right.
that is, there's approximately 2 or 3 inches between the building and this monument sign. But the monument sign basically is encompassing, it's approximately 19 feet tall from the base of the sign. The text area, the text is only 11 square feet per side, which is the Mary P. Hinsdale, that's the text. And the total sign area is 113 square feet per side. Monument signs are allowed, I believe, 10 feet tall and 70 square feet per side. So we're slightly bigger, slightly taller. Our text is certainly minimal. And the intention is to provide basically a landmark type sign, easily identifiable without being a lot of verbiage. It's certainly not a commercial establishment. We're advertising.
Is it going to be illuminated in any way?
Paul? Well, that's the architect.
No, there is no illumination on the sign.
Okay.
who's ringing the bells?
Our meeting night, and we will be there at 7 p.m. So,
The bells are not real. They're going to be painted silhouettes.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I thought the principal or superintendent would ring the bells in the morning.
Art, I'm gonna get you to come out and do that.
Sounds like a volunteer.
Well,
Exactly.
we can certainly
It's a
have a
very nice looking
Caroline.
sign. It's very nice looking. I like it.
It's, you know, we think it's appropriately scaled to the building. And don't believe that it's obtrusive at all, but that's, you know, that's what we'll be talking with ZBA on tomorrow night.
Just while you're on the ZBA, one of the comments that Mark Melanson talked about is item 11, 35-foot landscape buffer required in the residential properties and the school. Variance is required if they cannot provide the proper distance for the buffer. I did see the response to that. But I can't say that I agree with the interpretation from you on that, but why don't you tell us about the buffer zone and why it should not apply here?
Well, you folks are the boss, so your decision will certainly overrule my opinion, but.
Can you bring that screen up so we can see the addition and the relative position?
I'm working on it, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I am keep going out of sharing that screen. Let me bring my other one up down there. I'm working on it. How's that?
I'm looking toward the Williams, yeah, up in that corner. We can
Right, trying to
bring
get that
down a little bit,
screen.
yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
you've got about 90 feet from the existing building to the back of the, I guess it's the Rhodes property. And now you're going to have less than 20. It's 19.4.
okay.
I know you don't have any buffering on the existing building all the way around, so.
So the regulation, okay, just looking at the regulation, the definition provides to a use. It does not mention building. It specifically says a non-residential use requires a 35-foot buffer. So the existing parking lot, okay, just dealing with the use, but the existing parking lot that's here now is within basically 5 feet of this property line and similarly to this property line. Okay, so that existing
Right.
parking lot, existing use is within 5 feet of the property line. We've removed that parking lot. We've now got grass surface between the property line and the building. Understood? Okay, the building is, you know, this corner of the building at 31.5 feet is a little bit further back than this one at 29.7. Certainly, it's not as far as the 35 feet. This is the building setback line that I'm highlighting. Over here, the existing building is only 10 feet from the property line with no screening or no buffering. The existing parking lot here to the north of the driveway, that parking area is within 5 feet of the property line. So recognizing that the definition says use, you know, and then the site now was approved back in 1989. I'm assuming it was a special permit back then as well. So I you know, is this a modification of that prior special permit? The fact that we're less than what was previously provided. I don't know how, you know, if we go in and ask for a variance to, I'm not sure how we would do that. We ask for a variance down to this, to 5 feet. If we ask for that, you know, to the use. So, you know, and that's one for you. You know, certainly we can add, you know, right now there's just grass here. I don't believe we have any real landscaping per se. in these two elevations, but that, we could buffer that. We could increase this with landscaping. We could do a solid fence, solid privacy fence, if that, helps. With a solid privacy fence would.
Let me just, if I could interrupt you, Don, for a moment. On that side toward the that Rhodes property, that's the to the right of the new addition proposed. What's without opening up the architecturals, what is going to be the presentation to the neighbor? Do we have any site lighting over there? Do we have any? I don't see anything on this drawing that shows site lighting on that side. Because typically, because it's a non-residential use that has the potential of generating noise and lights and so forth to interfere with peaceful enjoyment of your residential property. So that's why the buffers are put into these things. And most of the existing building, I mean, there's no buffering, there's nothing there. It's been existing for a long time. But what we're talking about, you got new things going on here, and we've got regulations that we've insisted upon other properties, with a use that's not, it doesn't fit with single family housing. So that's all I'm looking at, and that's what I think the intent of this was, not to be to make a real hindrance on the property, but to actually leave the residential owner to have fair use of the property. So what's that face? You recall, or we'll just wait for the.
I'll let the architect answer that in 1 second, but these little rectangles here.
Dean, don't we have, or Paul,
Here and here, those are building mounted lights.
Okay.
Right.
There are no building
Nothing on
mounted
there.
lights
Okay.
on
All right.
this outer.
and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, don't we have a fence built along this whole perimeter of the property? Isn't that what all those hash marks are?
There is currently a chain link fence all the way around the property. That is correct.
It's a little bit of a
Right.
jungle.
Yeah, I think obviously looking at cleaning that up, one of the things that I would like to see, because the parcel of land that we're talking about that is adjacent to the building
Mhm.
isn't necessarily well kept at this point. I'd like to see more of a barrier up here, personally, just to protect the view of all the work that's
Sure.
being done on this property.
It's just, the commission, because we can't make a decision on this project tonight anyways, but we'll have to, one thing that as long as I've been on the commission, it does not try to surprise an applicant. Every meeting, you got some new discovery.
We appreciate that.
But the interest of, being consistent, so I think it'll be important from your architect's explanation of that side of the building and what influence that would have on, because the parking area, other than noise and headlights and so forth going into the back, but that's an existing parking lot up there, right, Don?
This is an
Yes.
existing parking lot that we did not change or expand. That is correct. And
Okay.
similarly with the building over here where it's only 10 feet off, we have not touched that. So
And Mark Douglas is here, or he has been here. That's his property, so he could comment about the, if there's an issue there. But, okay, I'm sorry, I just wanted to, when it was brought up by our zoning enforcement, I just wanted to cover that while you were talking about ZBA.
but we certainly need some direction from the commission on that. And
Okay.
if that's something that we need to seek a variance on, then we'll have to continue tomorrow night's ZBA meeting and have to file for a variance again to that buffer. And I'm not sure what we should, are we asking just to reduce it to the 19.4? That's the minimum I don't know what we would ask to.
Well, there's two elements. One is this that says 35 feet and it also talks about planting or fencing and so forth to create a visual barrier. But let's, why don't we wait until we get the architectural presentation with regards to what that looks like on that side? And then we should weigh in tonight before the end of the meeting to determine how the commission feels.
And the landscape architect will also show us what he has planned for that area, if anything, and what we could do there.
Good, excellent.
Aye.
Okay.
You know, just to point out, you know, Mr. Douglas had his driveway from from that side, but you have Mr. Rhodes here that has a small gravel drive and this small frame garage that also comes out onto that property,
Right.
just as of note. So
No, I was in there this afternoon looking. It's kind of overgrown.
It's been overgrown. When we cleaned all that shrubs 6-7 years ago on that whole side by the parking lot, I mean, it was a nightmare. And, you know, we cleaned the school side and the parking lot, but it's all grown into the fence from the roadside.
Mhm.
You know, and it's always been overgrown. They don't maintain it. And that garage is not in the best of shape.
Mhm.
Okay, why don't we move along with the site plan presentation and then we can get into the architectural part of it.
one thing, let me just point out on the fence. Okay, we did just discuss that there is a fence that's all the way around this property, right?
Right.
That fence, when we actually zoom way into our property survey, that fence is actually our neighbor's fence and not ours.
Okay.
From other than this piece right here, but this and this is our neighbors and this is our neighbors.
Okay.
So,
Hmm.
but so you know, at this point, you know, if you want, we can defer to Paul and he can review the architecturals with you. If
Well, let's, before we move off of this plan and get into the architecturals, why don't we just, I don't know, Pam, how many people do we have signed in for participating from the public?
We have 2, 4. 4,
4. Well,
5 if Mark Douglas.
okay. Well, let's see while we're on this slide, who on the commission, anybody have any questions that need to be answered before we move from this slide?
I do.
John? Oh, Paul, okay, Willie, yep.
Is there any way to divert the roof water off of going into that wetlands? Is there like another solution for putting that somewhere else in the new addition?
well, if we go out the back, then it joins into that 30-inch pipe over here. If we go out the front, we would join into that 30-inch pipe, you know, over here. We would end up having to do a whole separate line from this addition that away. And again,
Well,
it's
I
going
was
to,
just looking at the fact that there is a problem with this site generating water that floods somebody's basement. Now, if there's a way to reduce that from happening, you said this building 1,000 square feet less than the parking lot. But if we were able to give a solution to them in the future that we're not going to put any more water into that wetlands area that's going to potentially flood their property.
we're not putting any more water into this wetland area.
Right, but if we didn't put any in there from the roof, wouldn't that be a better solution?
We're not putting any water into this wetland area. This wetland area exists above the pipe that's underneath it. Okay?
So Don,
The
you
water
said,
that
yeah,
The water that floods this area is backwater due to the elevation of the water trying to get into the box culvert. Okay, there's only so much water that can get into that box culvert here. Okay, the box culvert does not take the 100-year storm. There's some overflow at the 100-year storm. So I wouldn't say that it's the drainage from this going into this catch basin and going that way. Basically, whatever's in the pipe can't get out, and it's the water that's coming down the brook that's backing up and bubbling up out of the ground and bubbling up out of this catch basin and bubbling up out of this catch basin, and then flooding this low-lying area back here. So it's not any direct runoff. You know, our roof drains from the existing building come out the front of the building to this manhole and tie into the 30-inch pipe that then discharges to the brook above the head wall or above the box culvert. So, you know, we have not completely eliminated the flooding on this property, but it is certainly less than it currently is or currently could be under the 100-year event.
Well, Jimmy Rollins's note made it seem like it occurs more than every 100 years. Sounds like it's a regular occurrence on that property.
You know, unfortunately, the only comments I saw today were the CEOs. I did not see any other comments, so I don't have any other responses to those. So I'm going to claim ignorance on his comments.
But just to interrupt, Will, I just, that parking area that's there, which is larger than the proposed building, the new
Right.
building, that just sheet feed back toward that area, the green area?
That comes back to this catch basin here. That whole parking area comes back to this catch basin here.
As long as if it was graded, it could be caught. But right now you're planning on piping the roof water, which is a smaller footprint than the existing parking lot. And you're going to pipe that into that catch basin, correct?
Yes,
Or manhole?
yes. Catch basin would be an
Catch basin,
existing catch
okay.
basin to remain.
Okay,
And that would come in there, yes.
okay.
Yeah, but didn't you mention, Don, that pipe did have some pluggage in it, and Public Works has now cleaned that out, correct? You mentioned earlier.
Correct. When we did our survey, we noticed water, accumulated water in this catch basin higher than the outlet pipe.
Right.
Our survey told us that pipe was lower over here so that it should be flowing, that it wasn't installed backwards and it should be flowing out here. So I asked Public Works to investigate. They said they found some debris that was lodged in that pipe somewhere that was blocking it up. Once they cleared that debris, the standing accumulated water drained right out and drained out and left it open. So you know, depending on how long that blockage was there, okay, and if this parking lot was raining recently, then that could have overtopped and that could have been some of the problem because this line was plugged and wasn't able to drain out. So that caused this catch basin to overflow.
Right. I don't think you're going to have that problem now that the blockage is clean, Bill, or Will. I mean, with the property flooding.
Mhm.
That's, you know, quite, we don't know how long that blockage was in there. You know, and I'm going to say that was a possibility that with this paved parking lot, and if this catch basin was not taking water, then it probably had no other choice but to overflow and come into these backyards.
Right. That kind of answer your will?
Well, it's an answer, but I still think it's if there's another way, we should explore that, but. I
Well-
mean, if it's happened already and it's happened so the homeowner has complained to Public Works, it's gonna happen again.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a grassy area, it's gonna have vegetation growing in it. It looks like it's the drains right along the area where it gets overgrown.
Again, if this is an occupied school, our hopes is that facilities will be keeping that vegetation trimmed back on a more regular basis if it's an operating school as opposed to being closed. But,
But it also raises the importance of verifying the piping all the way over to the discharge point.
Yep.
Through the manholes, catch basins, et cetera,
Make
because
sure the pipe under the school can handle the flow.
exactly. But the other thing is you've got additional parking up in the grass area. All that water is all going to that, I presume.
nope. Okay, yes, you are correct. We have additional new parking area up here. Okay. Some of this area was previously paved as the
Playground.
outdoor play area, playscape, so it's not entirely new pavement.
Mhm.
But this area where the playscape was, but recognizing that, we have added in a new catch basin, and that catch basin will actually be a hydrodynamic separator for better water quality.
Mhm.
But we're putting in a new drainage structure there that would then discharge directly out to the brook. So that's not going into the 30-inch pipe, but that's from there going straight out to the brook.
Is there any effort? I know, we've got this low impact development requirement in our plans. And I did a job up in Albany, New York, and we had a real responsibility of not increasing the flow off site to recharge the ground. Is there any capability of doing that here?
Well,
Adding to that brook?
a couple of things on that point. Yes, we've had some discussion with wetlands on that, but the first is that the site has 1,000 square feet less impervious than previously. So we did reduce the amount of impervious. So we are not looking to provide peak flow control.
Mhm.
We are looking though, and if we can find to take advantage of water quality and provide some water quality improvements, then certainly that is within our, requirement or responsibility. So that hydrodynamic separator would provide that improved water quality over just a standard catch basin.
Right.
The soil borings that we did up in this area reveal a couple of feet of fill and then a compact till material. So, and relatively high groundwater table. So we don't have any opportunity for subsurface galleys, storage, infiltration up in this area.
Okay, so you've explored it. That's the answer.
Yes.
Good. All right.
What we did do, okay, for this new parking lot, okay, so we're somewhat, again, new conditions. We did provide stormwater galleys under this parking lot to account for the water quality volume, which is basically 1 inch of rainfall on this parking lot, so that we could store 1 inch of rainfall on that parking lot, and then that would either infiltrate into the ground, or we put in a 6-inch perforated pipe to provide some slow drainage out of that, so that if it's not infiltrating, at least it would provide, have an outlet, and then it would be dry for that next flow. That water quality volume, that takes care of those, those sudden thunderstorms that we have at this time of year, and you've got that really hot pavement and you've got the runoff, and that raises the temperature of the runoff. So we're storing that underground rather than discharging that hot water right into the brook. So we've implemented, water quality measures for this new parking area here. We've implemented new water quality measures for this new parking lot here. And again, overall, we've got a reduction in impervious, so we did not look for peak flow control. And, honestly, I'm not sure where we could find any room on this site because
Yeah,
it's pretty full.
no, it is true.
So I think we've, exercised our due diligence in providing, meeting that regulation. I did see that regulation in your book, and I believe that we've addressed the intent of that
Okay.
based on a redeveloped site.
Okay. Will, anything else?
No, let's do it.
Okay. Art,
No, I'm all set. Thank you, George.
how about John?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Can you get back to this slide if the public has some comments or questions, or should we go to the public and ask for that now? You got it on the screen, so maybe we should just do that.
I'd have no problem bringing this back up again, but it, just may be better to have the architect explain the building and the landscape architect. Let's go through our whole presentation, and then any questions, whoever it's applicable to, we can pick
Okay.
back up
It's fine.
our screen
Fine
again.
with me. Okay.
So with that, I'm going to say Paul or Pam, if you could allow Paul to share his screen.
Okay, good evening all. Paul Jorgensen with Silver Petroselli Architects in Hamden, Connecticut. It's great to be here tonight. I have my screen I've just shared. I don't know if you can see it yet. This is the beginning of the submittal that was the submission that we brought to the town. This is the overall building plan, proposed plan. And again, this is reverse of Don's image because of the way it fits on the sheet. So you'll have to bear with me that way. We flipped, so north is facing down in this and south is facing up. So just to give you the basic, some of the data on the building, the original building is just under 50,000 square feet. We are proposing to demolish or remove about 16,000 square feet, which is 2 stories. It's first floor 11,000 and second story about 5,000, which includes the old kitchen and gymnasium, large volume space. The existing building that we're maintaining or keeping is around 33,000 square feet. And then what we're adding, as Don has said, is about 7,800 square feet on the far east side of the building, which is left on my screen. All 1-story construction. The existing building is type 2B construction, which is non-combustible. It's a steel frame building. The building is brick veneer, 4-inch brick veneer, with concrete block backup, and that is what for the addition we are maintaining non-combustible construction. The majority of the exterior is the red brick, but we also have accent metal panel, which we'll show you in the elevations and also in some of the renderings that we had submitted. So the exercise working with the superintendent was to find the right size building for the district. The district didn't need 50,000 square feet. This is a pre-K through 2 building, and by taking down the oldest part of the building and solving the flooding of the site, which was a big component of this, and putting on the small addition, we were actually able to create or renovate and add to this building to make it just the right size for what the district needs right now, and for the foreseeable future. So I will go from here into the next plan. The plans that I'm going through, there are 3 parts of the building, 2 parts existing, part A, part B, and part C is the addition. This is part A on your screen currently, and I can zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. This is the middle of the building, which is existing. You can see the entrance that is current behind the building. And as Melanie said, this will be the new main entrance of the building. And per the Connecticut guidelines, security guidelines, we are fortifying this entrance with a combination of ballistic and blast resistant glass and aluminum frames. That's a standard that the state of Connecticut started in 2014, shortly after Sandy Hook. So we are renovating that portion of the building in the main office, which is just to the right of that. We have Family Resource Center, which is just to the left, so families can come in from the main entrance that way. Someone had mentioned the mechanical room. There is, we are maintaining a mechanical room in that back corner area, which does have some electrical panels as well. And then there are some other offices around that space. If you go to the left of the main entrance, you're going to the younger students that are at the building. We're looking at first grade. We have some specialty classrooms of art and music. And then if you continue on in that same corridor, you're looking at the pre-K. We have some pre-K classrooms that are by that existing entrance on that far left-hand side before you get to the addition. And then some existing bathrooms that we're renovating. And again, we're renovating the entire existing building. All the plumbing fixtures are going to be changed. We have, there is new lighting or newer lighting in the school now that we're able to reuse with ceilings that we're putting in newer. A lot of our finishes are new. We have new flooring. We're painting all the interior surfaces. So we're really freshening up. And also all the casework. Cabinets in the classrooms will be newer as well. As we go from this upward toward Hinsdale Avenue, we have some of the older kids. These are the second grade classrooms, existing bathrooms that are being renovated. We have an early learning lab as well in adjacent, not far from the main office. As I continue on, we're going to area, let's see, this is the area B we're looking at now. So we are coming from area A, which we were just looking at. For more second grade. And then here we have a combination, well, we have the media center, which has been made much smaller, which is appropriate for this age group that we're serving. We have a student resource center. And then we have some of the specialists' office in the very corner of the building, the existing corner here, a teacher's lounge. And then the nurse's office is remaining where it is currently, principal's office on the far end. With a conference room, and then the large space that is in the corner, interior corner here, is a multi-purpose space of a cafeteria and also a multi-purpose room, which will more or less serve as a very small gymnasium. And remember, these are the smallest kids, are the pre-K through 2 kids. We have a brand new kitchen, commercial kitchen on the right-hand side or west side of the cafeteria. We'll have all new equipment. We'll have a dedicated delivery entrance into that kitchen. We have a new serving area, serving line that feeds the cafeteria. And in the back of the kitchen, of course, we have our walk-in coolers and freezers and storage area. The area, as you can see to the far right of the plan, we have that stairwell that goes down to Hinsdale Avenue. So we have the new plaza overlook on this end of the building, and this is where the building is being cut. So the old building, the 1950s, would be to the right of this. That's being taken down. So we have to build a new wall, if you will, for this end of the building. And the idea here is that we are using this, the curvature of the end, this new end wall, to mimic the water, the flow of the Gilbert Brook that goes through the site here. And we are using that metal panel that is blue in color, again, to mimic the water and the movement of the water through the site. And then the last part, the last plan of the enlarged plans is the addition itself. And we have here the more pre-K classrooms and kindergarten classrooms, and as well as a Head Start classroom in this upper corner here. So the main corridor comes in from the right-hand side. This floor elevation for this part of the building is slightly elevated from the rest of the building. And the reason we did that is to make sure all the plumbing inverts, the sanitary inverts, work with the rest of the building, because we're going to be bringing these small single hole bathrooms that serve the kindergarten and pre-K. All of that piping is being brought into the existing building. We're raising up this floor with a very small ramp. So this will be about a foot higher than the existing building next to it. We do have a secondary entrance on the end of this, which serves as egress for this addition, but also serves as a secondary entrance for the youngest kids and for the drop off for parents, as Don was showing.
What?
And
How
please
long is that
interrupt at
ramp?
any time.
Excuse me, how long is the ramp?
The ramp is approximately 12 to 16 feet. So it's the elevation change meets handicap code in 1 and 12.
1 and 12,
slope.
right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So we're looking at a ramp that is, I believe it's 14, it could be 16. So we're looking just over 12 inches. I think it's 14 inches higher in the addition area. Again, the exterior, the walls interior, it's a steel frame addition. All the walls interior, we have a combination of block walls where needed, but we also have steel stud and gypsum walls in a lot of these areas for the younger kids. The exterior wall is a brick veneer. And then on the face that faces the parking lot, we have that metal panel siding, which again has that blue color, which ties into the new main entrance and also by the brook.
Just to note, before you leave that drawing, Paul,
Yes.
the floor elevation is that 16 inches or so higher, so that these bathrooms can flow out by gravity rather than needing a pump station for this end of the building.
Correct.
So we raised the floor elevation to maintain gravity flow on the sanitary sewer.
That's right.
So the ramp is 16 feet or
16,
more.
that's right. 16 is right for 16 feet, 16 inches. And then to go to the next sheet, of course, these are the exterior elevations. Again, we have the addition, which is on the left-hand side of the upper elevation. This is that metal panel system with that door for the corridor. Then, of course, we're renovating the existing building, so we're replacing all the exterior doors, all the windows and glazing. All of this will be replaced. Then we come to the main entrance, which is the fortified entrance with the blast-resistant glass and frames. We have some metal panel that is over top of it that signifies the entrance. We do have a wall sign that is at that entrance that also has the name of the school on it. And then we work our way over toward the brook to the new kitchen, which is in the existing part of the building. And then we have that new end wall with the overlook plaza. On the second elevation, that is more of the new entrance in the back, and also a better look at the end of the building, which has a very vertical panel that is part of the curved shape of the building. This drawing was actually done before the bells were revised slightly. Originally in schematics, we had one singular bell in that the monumental sign, and since we've changed it to 3 smaller bells to bring the scale down a little bit. And then this is the back of the building. Again, it's the red brick that's existing that we're renovating, and then the addition, which is also the red brick to match. And the last elevation is likewise, this is Hinsdale Avenue, and then you can see the portion, I'm sorry, this is looking from Williams, the side of the elevation. And this is going to the neighbor closest Rhodes, I guess, was the neighbor.
Right.
This elevation, again, does not have any lighting on it. It's a much quieter elevation than a parking lot. It's a red brick elevation with classroom windows and no lighting on this elevation at all, similar to the back of the building.
Right.
And then we have in the next sheet, I'll go to, we have some of the blow-ups of the elevation. And this is where we start to call out some of the building materials, the new window types. You can see the entrance where we are using that metal panel that is part of the existing canopy over the door. We're adding that to add some color and some accent to the entranceway at that point.
I interrupt you for a second.
Of
The
course.
previous slide, you have equipment on the building?
Yes, I apologize for not mentioning. We are, as Don said, we're getting rid of that basement mechanical room. We are putting several rooftop units on the building. We have essentially one on each portion of the building, one on the C portion of the building, one larger in toward the center, and then we have on the addition as well, we have unit going on there.
What are you proposing to shield these, to make them?
Right now, we don't show shielding on them. They are, there are parapets on the building that, of course, these will stick above by about, we're looking at about 6 feet of the units that are visible from this vantage point. From the ground level, there will be much less vantage point. Obviously, we're on a fairly hilly area that there will be, of course, views from around the site as you go up the site where it gets taller. Right by the building, these units will be barely visible. However, you're correct. We don't have screens on them right now. We're showing them as inboard. Obviously, we're centering these units very close to the center of the roof, so they're very far away from the roof edges, so you won't see them as prominently.
Were you involved with the architectural review?
Yes, I was the one who presented to architectural review on Thursday.
Okay, and they did, oh yeah, I see that now. But you didn't, and they didn't discuss anything about shielding these things?
There was no talk about mandating or the desire to shield them. So again, certainly it can all be done. But our take on it is for a unit that's about 6 feet high in the middle of the roof, you won't, from the site itself and very close to the building and spreading out from the building, they won't be very visible. Again, from surrounding parcels around the site, you will begin to see them, obviously.
Oh, all right, just a thought on trying, because I've done some inspections of some new projects up in Massachusetts and one in Rocky Hill. And the rooftop equipment is, there was definitely an interest in everybody's corner to shield the rooftop units so that it's just to make it a much more presentable overall project, because you're spending time on the appearance of the building. Obviously, it's masonry. It's got some good quality to it, and you're going to add to it with the addition and the accents you're doing. I think we'd be remiss in not suggesting, at least my opinion, it's just mine alone, but to do something to shield these things, even though it doesn't seem like a big element, but you're going to live there a long time with these things.
Right.
All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Please, anytime, feel free to interrupt with questions.
George, I kind of agree with you, the shielding.
Mhm.
Maybe if we could look at that and see, what it would take to cover some of them up.
Well, it'd be good. We got to continue this, obviously, because of the wetlands part of it. So maybe maybe you as the architect can maybe bring some suggestions back, because we're not really equipped to help with the design. But I think typically, we don't go through a project like this very often, so it'd be nice to make sure that, you know, that little detail is incorporated in the overall aesthetics of the project.
Sure, we can propose some screening, different materials, and how
Okay.
that would look.
So it'd be, if you do that, it'd be good to throw a little color into your elevations, and then we see how it's going to blend.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I do have some color images that I'll be showing you as well.
Okay.
And then running through the rest of these here, we have the blow ups of the elevations that we submitted, just to show the materials and the glazing and the frames that we're replacing. And again,
Our commission is not, you know, so much involved with that part of it, but it's information that's good because we're obviously all members of the community.
That's right. We are re-roofing, obviously. It'll be a brand new roof on the building, so that'll help solve some of the water issues because it is an older roof and there have been cases of leaking in the building a little bit.
What type of roofing?
This is a thermoplastic olefin, which is a TPO roof. It's a single ply membrane. Again, we'll meet all the new code obligations for a roof, from thermal performance to overflow drainage to proper slope of the roof to drain the roof properly. The advantage of the TPO is that it has welded seams, so the seams don't come apart. They're very, very tight, and they're stronger than the actual membrane itself.
I know. I went to school for that. So I'm just making sure.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we're near the end here. We have the last of the elevations showing the metal panel and the new brick, and that is that screen. So if there are any questions about those drawings, I will go to the next. Well, before we go to the next, I would like to go over, and we mentioned this briefly, is we did a full photometric. The electrical engineers on our team, as part of our submission to planning and zoning, did the full photometrics of the site. And we have, and I'll show you by the front entrance, for instance, we have very almost no foot candles that bleed off the site. If you can read these numbers, there are 0 foot candles out by the property lines. We have these are new LED fixtures, are very low energy, and they really concentrate the light right where you need them. So we are providing these in pole lights at the parking and around the building, and we do have some small bollards that are near the building that are low for pedestrian lighting. And we also, of course, have some building mounted lighting at the doorways and entrances. But again, like Don had said, over on the addition side, we are concentrating our light right at the doorway here and at the existing walkway that goes into the east end of the building. On the side and the back, we don't show any light on that side because there are no lights there. The parking lot has a fairly uniform foot candle of somewhere between 1.8 and a little lower than that, 1.2, 1.3. And then if that bleeds off into the field, into no foot candles.
Paul, one of my questions about the lighting is that the lighting is very low by the handicapped parking, where you would, to me, you'd want more lighting. Come over some. By the handicap, you've got 0.5. See in there, 0.6.
That's right. It's just under 1 foot candle, which our goal is always typically about 1 foot candle minimum. And it can be less than that. Obviously, these are guidelines. We could adjust the light spacing to make sure that we have it by this walkway here. One of these pole lights, we have them positioned on these islands. There isn't one shown on this island. Certainly we can either add one to the island or reposition accordingly.
I think I'd want to add one, just food for thought, especially where it's handicapped.
Okay. And And on the other side of the building, I'll go quickly to the Brook side. We are showing in this fairly busy area where the handicap parking is, we have lighting directly in this area, which also the generator is next adjacent to that, and dumpsters are adjacent to that. This is where deliveries will also come in occasionally for the kitchen, which has the separate entrance here. We have pole lights, of course, for the parking on the other side of the Brook. And again, once you get off the site, we're really down to 0 or 0.1 foot candles on the sidewalk. Same thing at Hinsdale Avenue. We have new lighting for the plaza overlook and the stairs, of course. And then by the time you get down to the public sidewalk, we're very low lighting. It's just at the entrance here and then at the H and the walkway up. So I wanted to make sure everyone saw that. If you'd like, I can also go through the lighting cuts, the product cuts on these, but I don't have to get into that much detail unless you want to see that.
And we've got it included in the last submittal, so we have
Yes.
all that, yes.
We have that, yeah.
Okay. Then the next would be to, well, I can go to the signage. I can do that here. This is, again, similar to what Don Smith had shown you his drawing, or it was a drawing that was submitted. This is the whole drawing showing a detail of that, the bells and the monument sign on the side with the dimensions on it. And then this is an image of the main entrance behind the building with the wall sign, because it's actually attached to the building. This wall comes out from the building and comes over the main entrance as an additional overhang. And then we have the metal panel above the entry here, and then the replaced doorway and frame system underneath.
Just, and if can I jump in here just 1 second? And, you know, when we were looking at the sign versus the building, you know, we kind of could have gone 2 different ways. Felt that a variance for the sign area and the sign height would be less obtrusive than if this, let's say, wall was connected to the building. Then we would be looking for a building setback along Hinsdale Avenue. So we thought the variance for the sign would be much more palatable than a yard variance along Hinsdale Avenue. So that was some of our thinking there.
Well, I think the sign looks very nice on the Hinsdale Avenue side. I mean, really a sharp looking sign to let the people know in the public that where the school is.
Are you folks allowed to make any recommendations to ZBA for their actions? Or do you typically do that?
No, we don't.
No.
Okay.
All you're asking them to do is adjust our regulations. So
I understand.
this is the addition.
Yes, this is an early version, an early rendering of the addition. So this faces the parking lot, the existing and the new part of the parking lot. And again, we're using the red brick of the building. And then just on the face here, we are using that metal panel to just accent it for pedestrians and for cars coming into the site. You'll see this as a distinct element of the building with the younger kids in the pre-K and the K. And then we have, this was a very early image again of the end wall, and then using that curve. And again, we don't show the whole image of the brook in this particular image, but we're looking at the building and studying the massing of that wall. We want it a little bit taller than the existing building, and we are adding or putting back in a door out that onto the overlook plaza here, and then the stairs down to the sidewalk in Hinsdale Avenue there. And again, the monumental sign has changed and become a little smaller and tighter to the building. And then the last image I had here, this was an early image. We actually flipped the sign on this, showing that main entrance. So this is another image that we submitted.
But
with
that's
that-
not what we're going with, correct?
No, we are going with the
The
last.
first one you
the
showed
first-
us,
Exactly, the first.
not
Oh.
that either.
Paul, what's that sign, what material is that sign made of?
This is the metal panel on the Hinsdale. So the sign itself with the letters is the metal panel.
And the bell tower?
You know, it has changed because the original sign had the entire piece as metal. I see that the poche of the concrete is up on the bell. So it appears that this bell, when it was revised from the original, has been revised. It's made smaller, but it appears to be concrete.
Okay.
And again, that was a very recent change just submitted earlier this month.
No, I just was wondering what it was, if it was concrete. Another,
Yes, it's a concrete that is matching that existing stair that's right next to or right in front of it. And then the sign is the metal that matches the panel of
Okay.
the building.
Yep.
If there are any other questions, I think I've described all the sheets that we submitted, both the floor plans, the elevations, tried to give you some data on the building itself, and of course the program. If there are any other things that I've forgotten, or I don't want to duplicate Don's portion of the show.
I have a
But,
question.
Will, go ahead.
You went into detail on the security at the main entrance. And there's at least 3 other doors that you can enter the building by. What kind of security is on those doors?
Well, typically we see on those, and that you have to understand the state, because we're going through the state reimbursement process. Their requirement is that the main entrance be fortified. They don't require or make statements about secondary entrances. However, many school districts, and we would recommend it here, we would upgrade the glass on those doors typically. So it wouldn't be, it would be a laminated safety glass that could not be penetrated easily. So you couldn't go, break the glass and walk right in, that sort of scenario. That is a minimal level of security that we typically see and add to those secondary entrances, but the frames don't have to carry the same requirements as the main entrance for the blast rating, which is really a very heavy grade aluminum frame. And then the interior. So
What kind of locks on the doors?
well, these would be the security locks that are used throughout the district. We want to stay with the same hardware and same suppliers that the district uses typically. So they'd be, of course, the high security locks, and we would have electronic access for the staff typically at all of these entrances.
Okay, thank you.
The windows, on the new addition side particularly, what is the glass on that? A safety glass?
We don't, well, we have an option, and right now we are at a point in our documents, because we're trying to we're in the last phases of our construction documents, where we are with the budget that we have, we are proposing regular tempered glass for most of the classroom windows. We could do a bit alternate to make certain of the glass a laminated safety glass. But I'm not sure we'd recommend that if budget can support it around the entire building, because it's quite a price tag for the laminated safety glass if you're going to do it for the entire building.
Right.
Typically, we would see that as a bit alternate, that we could price it out, and if it's within our budget, then we can the district can decide if it wants it for this building.
Are they going to be double framed windows, or it's just a single pane?
Oh, these are all insulated, low E glazing for all the exterior.
All the windows, right?
Yes, yes, and
Okay.
we have where the existing are, we have operable windows that are that replacing the existing operables.
Okay, thank you.
Question, what kind of climate control are you doing here? Is there any air conditioning or any?
Oh, yes.
There is, okay.
Yes, fully heat and air conditioned, and of course meeting all the air exchanges that are required in the code.
Okay.
There was a lot of discussion during early design on dehumidification because the building has suffered over the years from moisture problems. We believe most of that is the problem with the brook under the building, but even with the brook removed from the equation, we want to make sure that the air in the building, we have proper air exchanges and dehumidification. And again, we're redoing all the finishes, which will get rid of any latent moisture. That's currently in the building.
Right.
Peter?
Are the windows fixed or are they going to be able to be opened at all? Because I know the current thinking for schools in the COVID age is to get fresh air into them.
Correct. And the existing building has operable windows now. And our thought is to go with a full replacement of the type of window that's there. So we will have operable windows on the office and classroom portions.
Okay. Thank you.
Peter, do you have?
Yeah, I'm going back to the generator. That was going to be sized large enough to operate the complete building.
Well, that's in discussion currently. And I don't have the plan on my screen right this moment, but in that area, the size of the generator is we typically size it only for emergency functions. The kitchen, the heat, the heating of the building, so we don't have frozen pipes in the winter, emergency lighting. Those are the definite features. Some schools will go to the full use of the building. Typically, when power's out, the school's never open unless it's being used as an emergency shelter of some sort. The initial.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought, Melanie, you had mentioned about the school being used as an emergency shelter. Like, for instance, this last storm.
Yep, there's been some talk in town about the wishes of that, but again, we have to balance that with this budget. So there is a generator, it's just whether or not it's at the capacity that it needs to be. And my understanding of, emergency storm shelters, as limited as I understand it, I understand the threshold to be pretty tall to be able to reach the level of what the state would consider as a storm shelter.
Well, even the size and the layout of the rooms and the facilities in this school, because it's a younger children's facility, it might not be the best place to be having the shelter either. But go ahead.
I don't know. I was just asking
Good
if it
question.
was even thought about, especially for our seniors. I mean, and I know it's going to handle emergency lighting and heating, but what about air conditioning? Or some of the rooms are partial of the building.
It's an open discussion right now. Typically, if it's not considered a storm shelter, then we wouldn't do the entire facility. It would be those emergency features to protect the building and
right.
Obviously the occupants that are in it still. But this is, again, if it's not a storm shelter, then we typically wouldn't add that to the budget.
I gotcha. Okay.
Paul, there are no showers in this building, is that correct?
That is correct. Right now, we don't have showers or any of those features, only classroom, bathrooms, and the typical student height fixtures and a few staff rooms.
Peter, did you have anything else?
Nothing that from what was presented, other than from looking at the plans on the beam rail that's going to be installed in the driveway and that area. Is that going to be galvanized or is that going to be the rust style beam rail?
Right now, that's proposed to be galvanized.
Okay, because that'll match the signpost that you're proposing for all the signage also.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No, that's all also, did we address the issue of the dumpster, George?
No, we didn't. We just showed the shelter there, but we didn't talk about it. And plus, there's an additional visual barrier that was mentioned that Don pointed out. So maybe you could elaborate a little bit about that. And
Based on the building official's comments, he brought up about the dumpster was not 15 feet from the building. That was one issue. And the other issue is we usually recommend black fencing with black slats for any dumpsters.
Mhm.
And that the height of it be a minimum of 1 foot of the largest dumpster that's located in that. I know you're showing 6-foot fence on your drawings.
Yes, we had a 6-foot high fence. I'll go in.
Don, if I could, starting from the outside and kind of focusing in toward the dumpster, that was one of the comments from the Architectural Review Committee, was how are we screening the dumpster area from the brook and from Spencer Street and Hinsdale Avenue. So what we looked at was a solid barrier enclosure against the brook side that's fairly tight to the building, with a little mural or a small mural opening in the middle here that we would have some imagery that would be part of it. But we would continue that wall a little bit lower, as you can see, than the building itself. And then the dumpsters would be behind that. And again, we would have the chain link fence around the dumpster that would be out of sight altogether.
Except for the gates would be visible when you're driving through.
Right.
Correct.
The dumpsters are out of view from this area. They would be viewable from the handicap parking space or accessible loading, or if you're driving through.
We would still want black fencing with black slats for that.
Okay, the detail that we have on the plan is actually green fencing with the what they call hedge link. It looks like the artificial Christmas tree type of a screen, and that's what's woven through. So it's it's not the thin metal battens that would be black. This is a we can provide some imagery, but
Okay, if you could provide us that, it would be nice to see that.
we can do that. But we're gonna have to. I was gonna go into my site plan, but yeah, I see. Unfortunately, I was not aware of the 15-foot requirement on the dumpster. That's, we can find someplace, certainly more than 15 feet away. The problem is that it might be a lot more than 15 feet away and not so conducive to that staff that has to use it.
Right.
But if it's, I understand rules are rules, and that's probably there for a reason. And that way a dumpster fire doesn't.
Well, that's one of the big reasons right there.
I can understand that. So we will, we'll have to put our thinking caps on and see what we can do with that, because certainly there's not a lot of space in that corner to.
Yeah, the other question was that generator, what's the distance between the generator and the dumpster?
5 or 6 feet.
Okay, now is that generator going to be diesel or natural gas?
The generator is going to be diesel.
Okay, so I assume there'll be a tank underneath it?
Yes, sir.
So we've got that as a fire hazard also with the dumpster there.
Okay. We'll find a better spot for those dumpsters. The unfortunate thing is the cafeteria staff isn't going to like it.
We want the safety element too. And Peter's, he's our expert in the fire issues. So good points, Peter.
Well, been involved for a few years.
I guess so. Okay. John, do you have something?
Oh, sorry, I've got to take it off from mute. No, I'm all set. Thank you.
You're all set. Okay. All right. Are there any more slides or anything that you folks want to present to us, or can we open it up to the public?
Before we open it up to the public, we have a landscape plan
Okay,
and Steve
sure.
and Wing with us. Steve, can you share your screen, or would you like me to share it for you?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay, so Um,
The host has disabled my screen sharing. You want to put it up?
Oh, you're good. You should be good now. Try again.
Yeah, try it now.
Bear with me. So good evening.
Didn't
I'm
know,
Stephen
didn't
Wing.
open, Steve. The drawing
We
didn't.
don't have,
Can you see that?
no,
Not yet.
Yeah.
It's on my screen. Let's see if I can try that again. Sorry.
no.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. Happy to join you this evening. I'm Stephen Wing, a landscape architect based in Milford, Connecticut. I'm a frequent member of design teams with Silver Petroselli and Don Smith. I've been to the site and have been working on this since early spring. There are a few trees on site that we can save that will not be in the way of the work. Primarily, those are on the service drive side of the property. In terms of landscape improvements, there are a number of things we're trying to accomplish. And one is providing shade in the parking areas, providing shade for the play areas. We want to help delineate the parking areas. We want to screen some less than great features of the site, and I'll point some of these things out in a second. And one of the things we're going to do is create a new landscape where the building footprint is being removed, where the stream, where the brook will be opened up.
Right.
And that presents some of its own little challenges. Then we want to accent and complement the architecture, particularly providing some landscape highlights adjacent to the entrance. So this is our L1 drawing that shows most of the site work. There's another drawing that I'll show you in a minute. See if we can zoom in a little bit. I didn't mean to do that. I'm getting the hang of this, but bear with me. Thanks. So in the area of this improved entrance on Hinsdale, where the monument sign is going to be, we have a couple of Coosa dogwoods and some evergreen ground covers to the left and to the right. Over here, we have a new maple tree. The maples we're using mostly are a tree called the Armstrong maple, which is a hybrid, and we select that in areas where we don't want the crown spread of the tree to interfere with the building or parking. Over by the Spencer Street side where this new parking lot is being provided, we have some Armstrong maples that flank the entrance to that, one about midway and a couple down here at this end, all intended to provide some shade in that parking area. Along the parking spaces, there are 12 or 15 parking spaces there, I forget which, we're going to create a hedge using a compact inkberry, which is an evergreen shrub. Doesn't get too big, doesn't need to be sheared or manicured, make a nice loose hedge, but we think while we don't want to bury this parking lot, we want to at least knock down some of the reflections from the headlights and grills of the cars. I'll
Yeah.
come back to this area in a minute. Let's see. So looking at this entrance, we're looking at highlighting the main entrance with some low evergreens and a couple of hybrid witch hazels, which are a big shrub, small tree that have a fabulous feature of blooming extremely early in the spring and have wonderful fall color. These two trees are a couple of the trees that we believe can be saved. Those trees are in good condition. Over here by the secondary entrance, we're proposing to have some more of this hybrid witch hazel called Arnold's Promise. Across the drive, there's some trees in the end islands there, but with the reconfiguration of the parking lot, we don't believe those trees will survive. So we're replacing those trees with 2 per island, more Armstrong maples, and here are a hybrid or a cultivar of red maple called October Glory, which is famous for its brilliant fall colors. Coming back now to the area where the brook will be revealed. We're trying to create a informal sort of landscape. We have some service berries, small trees, and here's another big October Glory maple and 3 Spartan junipers. This area is too steep to safely mow. Side slopes are about 1 on 2, 1 on 2.5. So that area will be seeded with the conservation mix, sort of a meadow mix, and maintenance for that will entail somebody going in once or twice a year, probably with a weed whacker, with an eye towards keeping this from sort of getting out of control. Over here in this area, you see a sort of an illustrative section that shows some trees and the junipers that are shown over here on this side of the bank. This area between Don's work and the sort of opening up of that brook and putting it back into a natural form should be a really nice feature. And I really like the way the architecture is playing off the meander of the stream. So that's the short tour of the landscape plan. I'll show you if I can do this. I'm
Just a
going
question
to.
before you leave that screen. Before you leave that screen, you've got trees up along on the upper side of the driveway where there's parking area, but we've got some light poles that are 16-foot light poles in there. So how are you going to deconflict these plants with the light poles?
Well, we'll have to work on that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm not sure I had the lighting layout when I did this drawing, but I'll work with the lighting designers on Paul's team, and we'll make sure we address that problem.
Okay.
Thank you for raising that point. I'm gonna see if I can get to the other drawing, which is in a different PDF. So Paul or Don, what do you suggest? A new share? Yeah, let's do that. Do you see this drawing?
No.
A new drawing?
Not
No,
yet.
so I would stop sharing and then have it loaded and then reshare.
Okay, we'll try that.
No, do it again. Was it open on your screen when you began sharing?
Well, let's see. I'm gonna stop share.
Yep. Now get it open on your screen before you.
And then I'm gonna do a new share screen.
Yeah, once it's loaded, and make sure you click on that one that you want to show.
Got it?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you for your help.
Yep.
There's not a lot to see. Just at the bottom of this portion of the drawing, you can see the trees we were just talking about that are by the drive.
Yes.
And the only other thing that's going on here, apart from lawn establishment, is some trees provided to provide some shade for this playscape. And these are 2 pin oaks and an October glory maple. These in part were chosen for this location because we understand the water table is close to the surface, and these trees are good with that.
Okay.
Also in this drawing, we have a set of sort of specification by notes and details for planting of trees and shrubs. So it's pretty basic, but we think it'll be a nice complement to Paul's architecture. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions if you have any.
Just looking at just what you said, you're going to review the site lighting and then just deconflict there so we don't have a conflict with the plants and the lighting. Because
Yeah,
we're talking about a little more lighting up around the handicap parking area on that upper side of the driveway too. So it'll be
Good.
good.
I've made notes on that, and I'm sure Don and Paul have too.
Good. The commission, any questions on the landscaping?
And George, you may want to also look at the lighting for the entrance near the new building where the trees are going to be, and the lighting's on the building there. See if that interferes with the lighting for the walkway.
Good point.
Will do.
Yeah, the front, the Hinsdale Street side, right?
No, no, from the parking lot coming in to addition is,
The new
Right.
addition.
Okay,
Good. Everybody else on the commission at this point, square? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Then why don't we see if we've got anybody from the public that would like to raise some issues?
I guess I could talk quick, George.
Go ahead.
I know we talked about the buffer. I know you guys talked about that parking lot that's kind of going to be in my backyard. That's really never been an issue
Okay.
with the light coming in and that
Okay,
little
good.
buffer, I guess.
Excuse me,
I'm
can you
sorry?
identify yourself for the record with your address? please?
Oh, Mark Douglas, 115 Williams Avenue, Winstead, Connecticut, 06098.
Thanks, Mark.
I didn't put on video though.
Okay. All right.
Well, that'll be, but what I'm concerned too is I know that'll be a little buffer with my house. Like I said, those lighting, the car lights never pose a problem because most of the traffic there is during the day anyways. But now will there be a buffer, say, from my house all the way up, back up towards like, say, Gilbert School for the people, my other neighbors, like Mr. Conover and the other people up there? How will that look? And I know Mel talked earlier about during the winter about cars getting on that field. They do it during the springtime. Are the playgrounds going to be lit differently, or because I know once in a while at night, very late at night, you see a lot of congregation down in the back of that field just because it's so segregated. You know, I was just thinking just for security and all, that's all.
Well, maybe there'd have to be some thought of better security of getting on the site.
Right. I don't know if there's a fencing. It looked like there wasn't going to be any type of fencing on the end of the parking lots, but I have seen cars, and I know Mel talked like in the winter, they could plow big snow banks there, which, but I've seen more people during the summer kind of drive onto that field.
Okay.
Just a thought to protect what we're doing now, because I think it's a great idea. I love the concept. I just can't wait to see you guys take that big concrete vault that the brook goes under the school down. I'm waiting for that one because I spent a lot of time in there. And then you guys are going to fill in that old boiler room downstairs in the old piece. And you know that next to that boiler room, there's some sort of vault on the other side of that wall that had some kind of, at one time it was like a big electrical thing from the power company. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. It's just because I had been in that building for so many times. I didn't think it'll cause a problem. I guess you guys said you're going to fill it in.
yeah, yes.
Okay. I just want to let you know that I had spent some time in that building, and since I've been at my house since '85, we've only had one really bad flood where it's come up, and that was year. And you were correct. They didn't have the wooden slats on those vents at the base of the school, and that's where a lot of the water came in.
Okay.
And the vault really never flooded, believe it or not. The water came in through those slats.
Interesting.
Just a little history.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, that's good. Good to contribute to that.
But
Okay.
I love what you guys are doing. I'll do whatever I can to help you guys out too. So I'm open.
Okay.
The parking lot, I'm sorry, the play field, the playground by the field
Yeah.
is not lit.
Okay. I just see a lot of kids there. I mean, I don't begrudge younger kids going there, but you just don't know what else could happen. That's all. Especially when you're making something nice and new. But I love the concept. I'm glad we're doing it. And I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thanks for your input, Mark.
The answer on the buffer to your neighbors going up to the north, nothing else is going to be changed up along the ball field. There's a wetland corridor up along
Correct.
those houses.
Yeah.
And none of that is being changed or encroached on.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I'm Joseph Holbrooks. I'm a resident at 44 Spencer Street. So across the brook, the play structure is just across from my backyard, the current one. So I'm pretty pleased that that's going to go back further. That'll be nice for my sightline. And the trees look nice. I appreciate that. That'll offer a little bit of screen for the parking lot. But I was curious about drainage from the parking lot. Will that go? How will that be channeled? And I think there was talk of it going into like a, I don't know if you, what's called a viaduct or whatever, to the stream. Is that right?
Which new parking area, sir?
So I'm on Spencer Street. My backyard faces the brook. And then, so on the main entrance side, so where the parking lot's going in, the play structure is coming out.
Okay, that parking area, that will be draining over to the brook through a new outlet, a new storm drain pipe and outlet to the brook.
Okay, so that'll protect from any erosion sort of down the hill. It'll go into the
Yes.
into the outlet. Okay, thanks. Looks great.
Great, thank you for contributing.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else, Pam?
No, I don't believe so.
No, okay. The commission, any further comments? I mean, we should, while we have everybody together, just the buffer question. Is there anybody have any thoughts on it?
Well, being that the fence belongs to Rhodes next to the new addition.
Mhm.
And yeah, not being 35 feet, but I know the old parking lot was, like Don had said, real close to it.
Mhm.
And it was pretty overgrown. You know, I think that we're reducing, and of course it's just food for thought, but we're reducing the footprint and making the buffer going from 5 feet to 19 feet, and 20 at the front side, 19 at the rear. But I mean, we're not sitting on ZBA, but of course it just says use in the wordage. I mean, my thought is, you know, it's better. It's going to be better than what it is presently. It'll be looking nicer. It'll be grassed versus blacktop and shrubs and bushes that are all overgrown on our side of the fence. I don't know how to address it, George, but
Well, I mean, you're made a good point though, because you know, with a parking lot there, you had vehicle activity and the noise from vehicles, and the side of the building doesn't have any lighting, and it doesn't have any doorways to access and get outside, so it's more contained. The whole flow of traffic and pedestrian access is all, you know, toward the back lawn area and playground area. So it's not making the situation worse. Actually, I think it's less invasive to have the side of the building the way it's being proposed than it is to have a parking lot there.
George?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my opinion. Also, based on, you know, the current use, you've got a parking lot there with vehicles coming in. Well, I mean, when it was used as a school, they were coming in and out mostly daytime, but anyone go through there at night, disturb the neighbors and have lights shining in their yard.
Sure.
With the new use with the building in place of the playground, you do away with that nuisance to the neighbors and you give them a quiet area.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I've shared one of the actual demolition plans. So this shows that existing parking lot there.
Mhm.
Basically the limits of that current pavement. The screening that I've shown is the symbol for that pavement to be removed. But you can see where, here's that catch basin that we were talking about.
Right.
Okay? And the end of the new building is probably up in this area here. And again, here's the sideline. From the sideline to the edge of the parking is only, I'm gonna say 5.
Mhm.
And then you've got 24 feet. So, you know, the edge of that building is someplace back in here. So,
Actually, it's an improvement on what it is there now.
Plus, it even sets it back farther than what's there.
Mhm.
Gives a bigger buffer.
Well, all of those are probably reasons why the zoning board of appeals would approve. You know, looking at this would put the earliest that the commission would be able to approve it down October 12th. You figure you'd go before ZBA September 22nd for a variance to the landscape buffer requirement. And I have to say, I still think that, well, I'm concerned that we may need to go over your coverage numbers.
okay.
And
Well-
so getting, you know, not to sway the commission which way, but you know, it's, you know, Mark's interpretation. Does a planning and zoning approval October 12th, does that hold up anything?
You know, no. I mean, we have to go through the steps, and you know, we're looking to get out to bid, you know, towards the end of the year, November or so, November, December. But that's, you know, the schedule will be what it is, and we know how difficult land use can be sometimes.
Well, the point that Pam's making, and this is how I look at this, we try to be consistent. And we do have the buffer issue that is printed in our regulations. And your proposal, as Peter defined it too, is that this is big improvement over what is currently there. So it's a step back, but in a good direction as far as reducing the exposure. But to be perfectly consistent with an addition, if you had not expanded the footprint on this side of the building or on the property, we probably would, I mean, we wouldn't be talking about it, because usually, you know, you're putting a structure in there that was basically a flat level ground for parking. I mean, I don't see, I mean, I'm not on zoning board of appeals because we can't be, but I would think that this proposal would not be objectionable, and actually would be positively approved, but that's my opinion. But I hate to address some of these things and just every time we have a good solution, waver on our own regulations, because we're not really able to do it. That's why ZBA is there. So I think we should be consistent, and if we've got the time, and it's not going to throw this thing into such a turmoil that you can't move forward and get any of the project done. You know, everybody else in the commission's got to give your point of view as well. We're not making decisions tonight, but you could make a recommendation how you feel. Art?
Oh, I feel it should be approved. The proposed addition is an improvement over the existing blacktop.
Mm-hmm.
And we're increasing the buffer from what it is now to even more of a buffer, even though it's not 35 feet, where the existing is what, 5 feet down?
Yes,
The
sir.
parking lot?
Yes, sir.
You know, we're almost tripling it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I don't know, that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's what it's all about. Okay, Will, what do you think?
Well, I was just looking at the pictures of the parking lot on Google Maps,
Yeah.
and there's a big vegetated buffer already in place. I mean, it comes from the red barn right up to the edge of the parking lot. And on the Hinsdale Avenue side, there's another buffer that basically almost blocks those houses.
Mhm.
So there's an existing buffer there. And it's, you know, the building, yes, it's gonna be 1 story high, and these buffers aren't 1 story, but they are blocking the sight line of the people and the neighbors.
Mhm.
And the only problem I have is putting vegetated buffer on the Hinsdale Avenue side is if you put it over that storm drain, then we get the same problem all over again with it being blocked.
I agree.
So, I mean, there already is vegetated buffers there, and it appears to be that they must be on either the school property or the other owner's properties, you know, because it does extend past the red barn.
They
So-
were
Almost.
on both 6 years ago when we cleaned that whole area up.
Mhm.
They were both overgrown, both sides,
Yeah,
and they still are. But I think during the project, correct me if I'm wrong, Don, that we're going to end up cleaning our side up during this project. I mean, taking down the overgrown bushes, et cetera, to the fence.
To the fence and anything protruding through the fence. Yes, we're gonna clean it up as
Exactly.
part of the contract so that facilities has, let's say, a clean slate with which to start from.
Mhm. Mhm.
Exactly. And the fence is not ours, so we can't repair it. We can't fix it. We can't paint it. And that's what we ran into 6 years ago.
Okay.
You know, the site itself doesn't lend a 35-foot, you don't have space for a 35-foot.
No,
It's
no.
not just a vegetative buffer, just so everyone realizes. It's that it must be a 35-foot wide. You're not gonna have that. And, you know,
No, it's not
this is a classic example of just going through the motions. Like, it's tough, but our regs are, you know, can't be written to address every situation.
That's what ZBA is there for. But anyways, Peter, what's your,
Well, I agree with all the conversations taking place, but it's basically a ZBA issue at this point, and I think we need to let ZBA deal with it. And that'll give them time for the engineer and architect to adjust any other concerns we've brought up tonight
okay,
and get those prints back to us so we can review them ahead of time.
okay. John, what's your take? John, are you still on?
Yeah, sorry. The only thing I'm thinking about is the amount of, when the school actually does open, the amount of traffic that's coming down the street, but I'm sure it'll be staggered just like it is now. And that kind of seems like a moot issue with COVID going on right now, but I didn't hear any talk about that, but we're way far away from that.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of traffic when the school is operating.
First year the state took
over the
school, which was 6 years ago. They weren't charged.
So I mean, are you leaning toward, we've got enough buffer the way it is now with a change in the site, or do you feel it should go to a ZBA resolution?
I think it should be looked at a little closer. I think it can get pretty crazy. You know, I live on this street, and it can get pretty crazy with the kids walking. I mean, like I said, it hasn't been like that since March, but during regular school hours, when we're not, you know, in a lockdown of some sort, it's quite a bit of traffic on the street.
Well, we're talking about the setbacks from the property line, not on the driveway.
Well, again, I mean, it's going to be congested. You know, it's congested now. That's all I'm saying. But
Okay.
yes, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying it would be quite a bit more traffic on this road when they both are open in full force, and foot traffic and car traffic. So how that would be affecting the buffer zones, I'm not really sure, but there are
Well,
quite.
yeah, I think the buffers we're really looking at is the edge of the new proposed addition, and then we've got about 20 feet now to the property line. It's going to be, once it's built, and that's that residential of roads that's behind there. There's a fence, and it's a lot of growth of, overgrown areas that.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know what you're.
Yes, we couldn't get 35 feet there, and our regulation calls for 35 feet. I think that basically, my opinion, if I was sitting on ZBA and it would come to me, I would grant an approval on a variance. But so the question is should we waive our own regulation in our interpretation, or should the applicant go to ZBA?
I'm not sure I'm in agreement with waiving it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think we even legally can. It'd be like closing our eyes to it, frankly, but so we can't waive our own regulations once we put them in place and it's gone through hearings and so forth. I mean, apparently Donna said that this would not impair their ability to get this thing into a bid situation. If we give them recommendation tonight, that's what we're looking at. They can then make the additional application to ZBA and get it into a public hearing and go for it.
I'm sorry, were you waiting for a response?
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, all right. So
Yes.
So there's three of us that at least think in those terms. I don't know. Will, did you say one way which what you felt what's going to go on?
I was just looking at the fact that there was already an existing small buffer that's grown up.
Mhm.
And if it's gonna have to be cleaned up back to the boundary lines. It's like the building's gonna take up less space in the parking lot, so it's less of a violation. So it's probably presenting less of a violation to the ZBA, so why shouldn't they approve it?
No, I agree with that. But I think procedurally, if we get into this where we start trying to waive our own regulations, we're going to go down a slippery slope.
Excuse me if I could interject.
Yeah.
Don Smith is trying to get back into the meeting, and he's working on it. He's
okay.
Didn't mean to leave the meeting, but there was a glitch.
I think, George, if we try waiving our regulations, we're going to be into a big problem, especially when we deal with other applicants coming forward.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Isn't that what the ZBA's job is for, to waive our regulations?
That's what that's their ZBA's job. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The only other way we adjust our regulations is to have a public hearing and make a modification. People ask for change in language and so forth, but it goes through the whole 9 yards. And that would be just as long a process as it would be to go through ZBA and to start changing regulations for every application that comes in. Then we go back to the 1955 regulations and keep putting band-aids on it.
Pam, when can ZBA act on this request?
September 22nd.
And when our first meeting is until October 12th?
Yeah.
I mean,
we could call a special meeting too.
That's what I was thinking, that we call a special meeting, either after ZBA or the first week in October. to help move this project forward?
It's a good suggestion. Well, I think there's a consensus that we should get the ZBA approval on the waiver of the 35-foot buffer at this point.
Plus,
And then-
plus we'll have to have wetlands, which I know they're addressing
Yeah,
that.
wetlands has got to act as well, right? So that, I think there's a consensus unless somebody raises their hand and says, I object to that, that the applicant should go through ZBA to get a waiver of the 35-foot buffer to be able to produce the project as it's drawn. Okay.
Sorry about that, folks. I'm not sure what happened, so.
Okay, well, here's what the consensus seems to be. We can't really legally waive our own regulations with regards to this 35 feet.
Okay.
If we do, we're going down a slippery slope, you know, every application. The consensus here, and I think that you've got a good case for what you've presented to us, and I think we all agree that it's a good project plan that you have. And you're actually improving the situation from what it has been on that side with the parking lot and cars and so forth. So that's what we do, is recommend that. The other thing is for timing, we're not adverse to go ahead and schedule a special meeting to talk about this project very shortly after you get the activity approved by the ZBA on it. So we don't have to wait for our regular.
Your regular, you'll have a regular meeting on September 28th. I'm sorry.
Oh, we will.
The
Okay.
way it falls, yeah. So
All right.
That works out good.
Yeah.
All right, and because wetlands should be the 16th, right, Pam?
that's right.
Okay. Okay,
All right. So we're not trying to slow you down, but we don't want to complicate our effectiveness and consistencies either.
understood, sir.
Okay. Anybody else have any other comments with regards to this tonight? And if we could have a motion to continue the public hearing to.
So move to our
And-
September 8th meeting.
Okay, is that that's
September 14th.
well, should we
September
continue?
14th.
Should we continue the public hearing to prior to the these other commissions being able to operate and make decisions? Well, why don't we do that? Continue it, and if we don't have those responses, then we'll inform the applicant that it'll be continued again, so they won't have to waste time coming to a meeting and then just push it on again. How's that sound?
Sure, better to be safe, and if we have to come
Well,
back.
in case there's another issue that,
Right.
you've come across, we might as well get it all ironed out so we don't get to the last end of this.
I'll
period.
make my motion that we continue the public hearing till September 14th.
I second it.
Okay, any comments or questions with regards to the motion? All in favor? Raise your hand in the camera, please. Okay, that's approved. So we'll continue to the 14th of September. Thanks for the presentation, folks.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, Art, just for the record, did you vote on that motion?
Yeah, for some reason I was muted.
He was doing a show of hands, but very good.
Yeah,
I
I
got it.
did.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Good. Thank you, Eric.
Pam,
That'll be $5.
Hey, Tom.
Pam, should I speak to you in the morning or Mark
Sure.
or who you want? Okay,
Yeah, let's talk in the morning.
very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.
Thank you all. Good night.
Oh, good night, buddy.
Melanie, you got chocolate chip cookies for us?
Oh, Jesus.
Listen,
No,
it's not going to be chocolate chip cookies I'm going to get right now. I can tell you that.
Oh, okay.
Art's
Good night.
back now.
Good night.
Okay, if we're set, we don't have any new business. Well, the old business, we've continued the public hearing, so new business, we don't have anything on our agenda for that. Approval of minutes for July 27th. We have a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Peter's a motion. Who's seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll second it. Any corrections or changes that would have to be made? All in favor, raise your hand, please. Okay, and Art, you
Abstain.
were absent excused.
Right, abstain.
Okay. Communications, Pam, anything?
No.
Okay, about a report from staff.
I don't have anything.
Nothing new. I heard today that the Hartford Hospital project, now they're looking toward closer to the end of the year to get this thing ready, but I've just.
But
talked
it's
to
online.
doctors. It's not surprising.
Yep.
Okay, other business, again, our POCD, we've got to get this thing moving along. I do have responses from everybody. Craig told me verbally, I know I've got to look back at what I marked down. He did go through surgery on Thursday. He left to go home Friday, but he's got some therapy sessions and some long haul of getting back to shape, but he sounded good and he's excited to be on that end of the surgery. So POCD, we keep it on our schedule. I will scan in everybody's responses. I'll send it over to Pam and she can make the distribution. And we haven't gone forward with anything on short-term rentals. We've been talking about putting that off until we can actually get people back in the room with us, because it's really developed quite a following when we do. And we didn't add anything to the agenda, but do we have any other anything else the commission members have in mind? Something we missed, should add? Okay, we need a motion for adjournment.
So move.
You know, second? Okay, Art, second. All in favor, just wave in favor. Good night. Thanks for everybody's time. A good meeting and good contribution to this. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Night all.
Night.